English translation, 344th contact. Sunday, 29th of June, 2003, 23:04 hours.
Two at once. Welcome, Quetzal, and of course you, Tauron. You, Quetzal, have been monitoring your new invention, I presume. You told me the last time you visited, you were going to do this at the end of the month.
Yes, your assumption is of correctness. Everything is working out fine. Greetings, dear friend.
Be greeted from me as well. I felt the need to visit you to ask your advice on two private matters, if I may.
Of course, just ask.
Your answers interest Quetzal as well.
Of course, no problem. So ask away.
It is really private.
Sure it is. When I write down the conversation, I will leave out the questions and the answers.
Thank you, then listen.
I would also like to ask another question, namely...
Thank you, your answers help me a lot.
As usual, you are very prudent and have thought of things we did not think of ourselves. Thank you.
No need to thank me. Besides, I also have a question for you, Quetzal, if you have time to answer it. Or are you in a hurry?
We have plenty of time available.
Good. On the 11th of June, I wrote a letter to the German news magazine Der Spiegel, which read as follows.
Subject: Der Spiegel number 23/6. 03 page 48, article Icarus from the Heath, by Ulrich Jagger, letter to the editor.
Karl Giotto, who presented his strange vehicle with 3 wings to the public on the 18th of August, 1903, cannot rightly be called the German pioneer of powered flight, who was the first to take to the skies with a motor vehicle, ahead of the brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright. In fact, this was another man, a German named Gustav Weisskopf, born in Leutershausen, Franconia, Germany, on 1st Point 1. 1874, died in Fairfield, Connecticut, USA, on 10.10. 1927, in 1895 he emigrated to America, where he called himself Gustav Whitehead. On the 14th of August 1901, with a self-built motorized aircraft, a monoplane, he achieved 2 flights of 800 meters in width at an altitude of 10 to 15 meters with his NO-21, making it the first motorized flight worldwide. The aircraft was a monoplane modeled on Otto Lilienthal's gliders, powered by acetylene engines and 2 propellers. Eyewitness reports confirmed the 2 successful test flights. Weisskopf, alias Whitehead, thus achieved his flight tests already 2 years and 4 days before the motorized air hopper of Karl Giotto in the Fahrenwalder Heide, and 2 years and 3 months before the biplane flights of the U.S. brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright, who did not carry out their flight tests until the 17th of December 1903.
I wrote this letter according to what Ptah explained to me on the 23rd of July 2000 at the 288th official contact conversation. See Pleiadian Pleiaren Contact Reports, Volume 8, page 177 ff. Now I have received a letter from the Spiegel editorial office, together with a photocopy of an article published in the Spiegel in issue number 24 in 2001. This article vehemently contradicts what Ptah explained. Here, if you want to read the whole thing.
The whole thing is amazing and very regrettable. Astonishing because the collected facts concerning the conduct of life are to a certain extent correct, as well as his often useless work concerning his attempts to bring different flying machines into the air. But it is regrettable that this also denies his real successes and that he is maliciously slandered in this respect. In fact, on the 14th of August 1901, Gustav Weisskopf actually achieved the 2 flights mentioned by Ptah over a distance of about 800 meters, at an altitude that varied between 10 and 15 meters.
Ptah told me that there were several witnesses.
That is of correctness. Unfortunately, however, all the witnesses were later accused of lying by people who were involved in the technology of motorized flying apparatuses in America and Germany. Since the brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright were Americans, the Americans were of course not willing to let the American German have the honor of having created the world's first motorized flight, because this should and could only be due to American citizens, no matter that unbelievable lies and slander had to be invented for this. And in Germany, Gustav Weiskopf was regarded as an adventurer and impostor, etc., as well as a dishonorable refugee from his homeland. And consequently, he was also denied the honor of having really made the first motorized flight on Earth by his home country or by the German builders of many flying apparatuses through lies and slander. I can state these facts so precisely because at the time of those events, I spent a long time in the Earth's space together with Ptah and observed together with him the efforts of Gustav Weiskopf with regard to his inventions of motorized flying machines. So we were also observers on the 14th of August, 1901, when Gustav Weiskopf actually took his flying apparatus into the air and flew about 800 meters. 11 persons who had assisted Weiskopf in his enterprise witnessed the success of the flight with the motorized flying apparatus.
Ptah did not tell me anything about the two of you watching the whole thing. However, I did not ask him where he got his knowledge from.
That will be the reason.
Probably, yes. Do you two know anything about our computer system?
I have no knowledge of that, no.
Zaphanet Panic has taught me most of these things, so I know how to deal with them. Why? If you have any problems you cannot overcome, then Piero and Stefan are there to help you.
Actually, I was going to ask Zaphanat Paneach, but he is with Ptah in the foreign universe. When are they actually coming back?
It is going to be a long time.
I do not have any problems on my end. It is a security thing that Stefan asked me about in the sense that I could ask Zaphanat Paneach. But the thing is not supposed to be official.
Then bring your question up.
Well, it is about look at this sketch.
I think that can be arranged if Stefan...
Thanks. This will help him. Then I have this. It is a supplement to the statutes and articles of association. This has been buzzing around in my head for years, which is why I wanted to present an agenda item at the General Assembly. Unfortunately, I have forgotten it again and again. Could we formulate it together? Here, read it, please.
This is really important and must be included in the statutes and articles of association. Let us formulate it.
This should probably be good in this form.
Tauron and I would like to enjoy the night a little bit more and walk around on the center's grounds a bit more.
Then I will be out of here in a jiffy with you guys. But be careful, because Bernadette is already on night watch at this time. Not that you scare her.
We do not do that.
He does not mean it like that, Tauron. He means that we should be mindful so that we do not run into her.
Strange turn of phrase.
But nice and Earth-like, my son. So come on, let us go. We can get out through Eva's office, if I can just make sure nobody's out.
Nightly observations.
In the night from the 29th to the 30th of June, I started my night watch as usual. My first route took me around the house to check that all doors were locked. I noticed that in the living room, the windows were wide open, and the night curtains were not drawn, which is completely unusual. Thinking of the recent attack on Billy, I went back inside, and after a short hesitation, I carefully closed the windows and curtains, because I did not want Billy to stand in the bright light as if he was on a silver platter when he entered the living room. Afterwards, I continued my tour. The night was very warm, 20 degrees, shortly after 12, and calm. I was just at the lower court lamp above the fountain when a light breeze arose that promised some cooling. Grateful for the breeze, I sat down on the second lowest step of the metal staircase leading up to the ground floor, enjoyed the pleasant night, and pondered my thoughts. Shortly after I sat down, I heard a noise from Eva's office and watched Billy open the door to the corridor, turn on the light, and look out into the hallway. He came back into the office, closed the door briefly, and then opened it again, whereupon I saw in the dark the heads of two people stepping out into the bright corridor. One of them was a little smaller than the other. Immediately the door closed again, and I heard the key being turned in the lock. Aha, I thought, Billy is going into the living room now. Good, I want to tell him about the window. So I got up and continued my tour. After the next stop, which took me behind the house, I went through the kitchen into the living room, where I thought Billy was. But there was nobody there. I puzzled for a moment, and then thought that he was probably in the bathroom by now, where I did not want to disturb him, of course. The night watch was still long enough, and I would surely see him later, so on with the tour. Shortly after that, I was at the back of the parking lot, and there was still a pleasant light breeze that refreshed from time to time. I took off my glasses and looked up to the very clear starry sky. And no sooner had I raised my head than I saw them, two moving lights. One was moving smoothly and evenly from west to east, and the other was moving just as smoothly and evenly from southwest to northeast. It seemed to me that they had crossed just before I spotted them. I chased after them with some good and kind thoughts and watched them until they disappeared behind the treetops lining the parking lot. Then I continued my round, which I was able to finish without interruption. In the break between the two rounds, Billy came out of the office into the kitchen, and before I could tell him anything, sent me greetings from Quetzal and told me that Florina and Electra were on vacation for another 2 weeks. And he told me that Quetzal had been with him to tell him that the security measures he had taken to prevent the attacks on Billy were working perfectly. He also said that he can still settle a question regarding the computer. I asked him when Quetzal had been with him. He explained that between midnight and 12:30, he had been left by his visitor and said that I might have seen something. I remembered the two ships I had seen at Yearbo 36 hours over the back parking lot and told him about the sighting. They were probably long gone by then, he said. So I took the second night watch round under my feet, and when I was back at the rear car park in the dark at Year 144 hours again, I saw another single ship, which, as a tiny spot of light, moved pretty much from south to north. This time, however, I had the feeling that it was a telemeter disc, but nevertheless, I sent my greetings to this flying star. And hardly was I on my way again, when the scales fell from my eyes. Of course, it had just been 0026 hours when I had sat down on the metal stairs near Eva's office and made my observation. Was it possible? During the rest of the tour, I could not get rid of the idea that I might have actually seen something more. All the more so because I had seen in the living room that Ava had obviously already gone to bed and was no longer in Billy's office. I could hardly wait to finish the round, and I laid out exactly what and how I wanted to ask Billy. And indeed, he confirmed to me that I had indeed had the unusual good fortune to watch Quetzal and his companion leave Billy's office after the 344th contact. However, contrary to my assumption, Quetzal's companion was not Zaphanat Paneach, who is the same size as Quetzal, as Billy explained in response to my assumption, but Toron, who is actually slightly shorter than Quetzal. And he also confirmed to me that probably at 0:36 hours in the back parking lot, I had actually watched the ships of the two of them. Really, I have not had such an eventful vigil for years. But then I only wrote into the night watch book, first tour, okay, second tour, okay, and that was really it for me. Bernadette Brand, Switzerland.